About 6 years ago, I had a rash that would not go away, and it was on my face, particularly right by my nose. And it was one of those things where I would look in the mirror and I was like, this has got to change. It was that needle mover moment where I could no longer ignore or deny that there were symptoms going on in my body that were crying out for help. And I see this happen over and over again where we tend to kick something down the road, especially for our own physical health, right? It's easier if you're married to say, oh, honey, you need to get that worked on, or to our own kids that we need to prioritize their health. And oftentimes we'll show up for them, right? Even if it means we need to make some dietary changes as a family, or we need to make some adjustments to our schedule to help support their health. But for us, it's a little bit harder. And that's what I want to dive into today. I want to talk about your something has to change moment and what your body might be communicating through that. If you're new here, I'm Rita Johnson. I am the owner of Health and Hormones, and here we talk about fatigue solutions, period help, gut healing, and so much more. Let's dive in. So, going back to my own personal story, it was a yeast rash that would not go away. And if I ate certain things, it would flare. And it started to get to be so sensitive that I was no longer eating anything with sugar or high fructose corn syrup or even fruit by itself. But then, if I started having things paired together or a little bit of honey or maple syrup, it would cause my skin to flare. And in addition to that, I also woke up feeling very intense muscle pain at especially in the morning. That's when it was really difficult for me. I was very slow to start. I had a lot of brain fog. And it just was at this point where I started to think to myself, gosh, is this where I'm going to be stuck forever? Is this now where I am and what's going to be my future? And it led me to this place of getting radically curious. And that radical curiosity is a place that I love to see my clients at because it leads us down this path of starting to feel that we have hope that it's not always going to be this way, that these symptoms that we're dealing with are actually our body working for us and helping us to see and know what it is that we need to support. For me, it was a lot of gut healing that I needed to go down. I needed to figure out why wasn't my body breaking food down well? Why was food becoming inflammatory to me? And I knew these symptoms of that happening were that I had a growing list of foods that I was reacting to. I had more and more foods that I had to take out of my diet. And that was because my gut was not able to break down and function optimally. But for some women that I work with, that's weight loss. It's the number on the scale that just keeps going up and it feels really scary and hard. And they start to wonder, is it always going to be this way? Am I stuck here? And that for a lot of women is a something has to change moment. For others, it's just feeling really frustrated that they can't show up the way that they want to, whether that's all month long because they're having hormonal issues with their cycle, and that's really impacting the way that they can show up to their family and to their mission throughout the cycle, or it might be something else. It might be because they're struggling to conceive and they're just realizing, something has to change. If I want a different result, I have to do something differently. So when we're feeling frustrated and we're feeling fatigued, like I had to nap every single day. And if I didn't get to nap in a certain day, I had to console myself with thinking ahead on when I would next be able to nap. But if you're feeling achy, if you're tired in your bones and so tired of that scale not moving, I really want you to get curious and figure out what's going on in your body. Some of those things that I see are those really big needle movers when the scale just keeps going up, is that there's something telling your body it's not safe. Losing weight is a way that our body tells us that it's safe. If we're not storing food for later, then our body feels safe enough to burn the energy that we're currently making and allowing for that to fuel us. And so that's where our metabolic rate increases. If you are worried that you're not going to be able to eat for the winter, your metabolic rate is going to slow down, right? Your body's going to say, oh, we need to hold on to some of this for later because we're going to need that when we're fasted. But the reality is that in our day and age, very seldom are we actually in a situation where we cannot eat. And so we have to just help support our body through this. We have to listen for the ways it doesn't feel safe. Is your body breaking the food down that you are consuming? Sometimes it's needing to support gastric juices or needing to balance the gut microbiota to help support regulation and that mineral, vitamin, protein absorption. Sometimes it has more to do with the nonverbal signals we're giving ourselves all the time. So it could be the thoughts in your head that you're not safe. And that could be because the house is loud and there's lots of kids around, or the dog is barking, or you've had another argument with your husband or your mom. And it's just as we replay these things over and over in our head, and we're constantly signaling to the rest of our cells that they're not safe, then that's going to be a problem as well. And our body's going to say, I'm not safe. I might need this fuel for later. And so I'm going to hold on to it and store and store and store and not let this weight loss move. Another thing I see a lot with weight loss is imbalanced blood sugar, which again is another way that our body is being signaled that it's not safe. It's not safe enough that it feels like the blood sugar levels are balanced so that you can live your day-to-day life in such a state that you have fuel to burn. Blood sugar balance is a lot about helping to store sugars in our muscles, our skeletal muscles, and then release it when our body needs it. The more that we have our blood sugar in balance, the more our metabolic rate will increase. And that's particularly important when we're looking at how do I support weight loss for my body. So I want you to know too and be mindful that this is going to be very different for you than it is for somebody else. Your girlfriend or even your sister is going to have a very different path to figuring out why doesn't your body feel safe enough to be able to lose the weight? What is it your body needs to be supported to walk through this with greater grace? This is why I have an amazing workshop coming up that I just want to tell you about for a minute. We're kicking it off in April, and there will be 4 of us, and we're going to cover everything from GLP-1s to mindset to inflammation hunting to exercise and eating optimally for really moving the needle on weight loss. We are going to dive into this, and it is going to be such an amazing value. Each one of us individually doing this workshop, it would be thousands of dollars, but we are coming together and offering this to you for a very affordable price so that we can really help you move forward quickly. I'm super excited about this. If you want more information, the link is in the description. And I would love to hear from you. Drop me a comment and tell me what is one thing that you really hope will address in the upcoming workshop.